Thank you so much for joining us on Dwelling Show. I'm your host, Ola Dantes. I've got Jacob Busani with us today. How are you doing, Jacob?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you today?
Doing well, doing well. I'm glad we got connected. Yes. So, let's just jump right into it. Just tell me a little bit more about your story. How did you get into the real estate game, and kind of what you're doing now, like lately?
Sure. So the quick rundown is I got into the real estate game 4 years ago. Started off doing residential brokering, like what most people do when they get into the brokering business. And within 4 months, I realized I don't want to deal with people who only want to buy a house based on the color of the carpet. So I switched off and I went and I focused on commercial. And since I started doing commercial, it's just been deal after deal after deal, closing deals. And after like 2 years of me doing commercial real estate deals, I started focusing on syndications. So I'm raising money for investors in all different projects, from multifamily to developments. And I kind of also took the same time I was spun around and doing the syndications. I also kind of fell into the personal development industry hard by mistake, where my friends were just like, hey, you're always giving us these advice, and when we use it, it works. Maybe you should start doing coaching and consulting. And that's what I started doing, where I went through the John Maxwell team. I got certified as a coach, speaker, and trainer. And like while I was doing the course, before I attended the first event, I told myself, hey, I need to keep myself in check. And how can I keep myself in check? So I started writing and writing and writing and writing. I started writing a book, and this book was mostly going to be for me. And then I was like, why don't I just write the book so other people can enjoy it as well? And then I created the book. It's called The Entrepreneurial Way, where it's a lesson a day for 30 days that will set you on the entrepreneurial way. And I cover in the book mindset, goal setting, strategy, fear, leadership, communication, networking, almost anything that you can think of that you need as the habits to be an entrepreneur, to be successful in any business that you're in. So that's really where I am right now.
Wow, so amazing. A lot of good things there. I've got a ton of notes down. First and foremost, it's really interesting that, you went through the John Maxwell, program. John Maxwell, anyone that doesn't know that name, go Google it. So that's pretty huge. And for me personally, actually, I think mindset really, is the kind of foundation, for any entrepreneurial venture, especially real estate investing, right? Like you said as well, you made a comment in the beginning, right? You just didn't have the temperament to deal with people that wanted to buy a home just based on the color of the carpet, right? Or if the appliances were silver or white, right? So you were like, yeah, you could yourself, and you're like, well, maybe this isn't for me long term, right? And you kind of noticed that in yourself, and you were like, well, I wanted to make this shift. And I think that's really important, right? Because everybody kind of watches maybe HGTV or go for like a seminar, and they're like, I want to do real estate, but which kind of real estate? Like what type of real estate? And, what are your temperaments? How would you want to get into the business? So I really like the fact that you noticed you didn't want to be in residential, then you made that move. So just kind of curious, what's the difference between kind of like, you mentioned one, but what are the other differences that you've seen from kind of like dealing in the residential world, now moving into kind of, commercial, now evolving to syndication? What are the differences that you spot?
So, the first difference is, hey, when people are buying their home, most of the people who are buying a home in the residential world, it's their first home that they're buying. And this is such a huge decision from them. And, obviously when people are making such massive decisions, first of all, decision making is a huge calorie burner. So number one, for the people who are buying, number two, for the people who are representing them, because you can be like showing them like 4, 5, 6, 7 houses over the course of like 2 weeks. And like every time you're just like, oh my God, what are they going to say? They're going to like it. They're not going to like it. Even, like I'm trying to pressure them into selling, but you're not really pressuring them. You're closing them. And it's really like, it's the right thing for them. And this is exactly what they want. But by the time they come back to you, it's already too late and somebody else got the deal. We all know, and we've all been through that. Whereas opposed to commercial, where, hey, look, these are the numbers. This is what makes sense. You're a savvy investor. You know your numbers. You know what makes sense for you. You buy it. And when you're buying commercial property, you care, but not that much, which lets you take bigger risks, which lets you make investment decisions based on just numbers instead of feelings and emotions. So that's the first difference. The second difference is well, we're dealing with like-minded people. Whereas residential, like kudos to whoever is doing residential, but like it was just too much for me. Like I can't just be dealing with people's emotions all day. I'm not like a therapist or any of that. I'm a coach, but that's not me dealing with people's emotions. That's just me listening to people and helping them do what they do based on their telling me. Um, so that's number one, where when you're in commercial, you're just focusing on the deal. You're focusing on how much money it makes, what can I do in the long term, or what is the upside for the short term, for the short term of the deal. So we're all dealing with people, we're on the same page, and that's definitely the second tip when I come to what's the difference between residential and commercial, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, you're really mentioning a lot of really good things. I like what you said about the decision-making process. It burns calories. But we don't think of things like that, right?
Sure not.
When we're going about our daily lives, right? I read somewhere that Mark Zuckerberg, he wears that T-shirt, right? That, I don't know,
Yeah,
light blue. Yeah, and the reason it does that is, when he wakes up in the morning, he doesn't want to spend a lot of time to think of what he's going to wear to work at Facebook. So he just wears the same thing. And as you know, Steve Jobs does the same as well. So, really mentioning these things that I think are really important. And this kind of obviously bleeds into mindset because, you understood who you were and what you could deal with. And you were like, if I keep doing this for the next, I don't know, 5-10 years, I'm just not going to be happy. I'm not going to be where I want to be. So I really like that, that you mentioned that, that making decisions can can burn calories. And if you make too much, you might lose some weight, apparently, right? So I really like that. So you made that transition from residential to commercial, and then you also kind of, now you're dipping your toes into syndication and multifamily and raising capital for syndicators like myself. So can you tell us a little bit, like, how was that journey for you and how did you get into the syndication business? Just
Sure.
kind of give us
It
the
was
rundown.
Sure. It was a very simple journey for me. It was when I got into commercial, I got involved with CCIM. Whoever doesn't know about CCIM, it stands for Certified Commercial Investment. Remember, it's like the PhD of commercial real estate. If you don't go to a graduate school like NYU where they have the Shacks real estate program. So this is and it covers like four core courses: ethics and negotiations. Now they also have a bunch of extra courses that you can go and take. You fly out. So they had a course which was called crowdfunding, and it was taught by like the top crowdfunding lawyers in the United States, which are Gene Trowbridge and Julian Sadati. Their website is called the Crowdfunding Lawyers, and they created this the crowdfunding course. So I flew to Chicago, and I kind of backed it up. I flew to Chicago, and I had ICSC, which is the huge retail conference, like back to back. So I flew straight from Chicago to ICSC, which was literally like I couldn't have asked for better timing when it comes to starting to raise money for deals. Because after I learned all the legalities, how to do everything, how to raise money, how to split the money, all the profits, I went straight there and I went deal hunting, and I found people who were finding deals. And then I started pairing people. Oh, look, hey, he has a multifamily deal, or he has a deal that that he needs to raise money to. And I just started sourcing through my network, which was literally networking. I go to events and meet people. I have people's business cards. I follow up with them. I build a relationship with them, and just pair them up with each other. And in the long run, it always pays you back in some way, whether it's money, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in referrals for different businesses, whether it's another referral where, oh, this guy now happens to have a hotel in Manhattan. Well, who does he call on? He calls in Jacob, and Jacob facilitates some kind of deal. So that's really how I got involved in the syndication world, and that was through the CCIM program.
Wow, yeah, I really definitely know the CCIM, and I really like the fact that you kind of tie that in. So, raising capital, right? Is a pretty big chunk of our business of syndication, right? Being able to raise money and add to the capital stack is essential to kind of the lifeline of our business, right? So networking is a big piece to that, which you kind of mentioned a little bit. But when people, you've heard that saying before, your net worth, your network is your net worth, so what would you say to somebody thinking, well, I have a network of people, but I don't really know how to network, or I'm just uncomfortable networking, or I don't really know how to raise money from the people I know, what would you say to that person?
Well, first things first is we don't realize, but networking is communication, and everything that we do every day, we are networking some form, some kind of way. Whether you're networking with your spouse, your friends, you're like just being in front of people and then touching with them something in the future, whether it's a follow-up phone call, whether it's a text, an email, that you just want to be always in mind. Um, so I guess for somebody who wants to start networking but doesn't know where to start, the first place would be is you can go on meetup.com, or you can go on Facebook events near me. You can look on your LinkedIn feed if you have LinkedIn. I strongly encourage, if you are networking, you should have LinkedIn. It's definitely a good tool to have. And just tread the water, go in, see, they have so many different networking events. So just pick your poison, pick whichever one you like, just go, and then tricks and easing into. Now, most people, when they go to the first networking event, they're shy, they don't know anybody. I never encourage people to go to a networking event with a group of people, because once you go to a networking event with a group of people, then you kind of you stick to that group and you can't go out there and meeting other people. So always, first event, just go by yourself. It's also a good way to get out of your comfort zone and do new things, which is very good for growth. So the first tip would be is, it's called the 12 by 12 by 12, and this is by Dr. Ivan Meisner. He's the networking king. He talks about it. He founded actually BNI, which is like a networking organization. So he talks about the 12 by 12 by 12. The first 12 is, what do you look like from 12 feet away? How do you present yourself, right? The second 12 is, how do you sound from 12 feet away? Nobody likes complainers. 50% of the people don't care. And then the second half, they're just happy that you're worse off than they are. And then the third 12 is, what are the first 12 words that come out of your mouth when you're introducing yourself to somebody? So those are the most crucial part of networking. Just the first, because that is what helps you with the first interaction when you're meeting somebody.
I love that. I love it so much.
The second tip is, when you're networking with people, okay, this is called closed twos, open twos, closed threes, and open threes. When you want to go and meet people, okay, it's always easier to go into a group of people already speaking than just going to somebody off the bat and like introducing yourself. Now, how do you do it? So now picture me and you. We're not facing each other. We're side to side. We're just having a nice talk, where we have that open space between us. That is called an open two. Where that like you don't even realize that you're doing it, but that's how most men they communicate. Where you're not facing each other. You're just on the side, and that allows people to come in and engage and feel that it's not a problem to be a part of this. Whereas opposed to when you're speaking to women, you need to face them, because if you're not facing them, they're looking around the room and for who else to network, and not because they're not interested, but because women, you need to capture their attention, as opposed to men, you don't need to capture their attention. They can look around the whole entire room and still maintain a full conversation with you. And the same exact thing goes for an open three and a closed three, where if you're a group of three people, don't just have just don't be like all in a circle. Also stand into the side, so that way it's inviting. And it can go up to groups of like 8, 9 people, and like you don't realize it, but now that you start to realize it, you're going to start making the effort, and you're going to realize that people are going to start coming into your conversation, and it's just so freely, and it's inviting, and it's fun. So those are two great tips. Um, if I'd give you another third tip, and that would be is just be yourself. Don't try to like be all up and tight, and don't try to sell people. Don't try to tell people, hey, I'm a real estate broker. I'm this. I'm that. This is what I do. Just like have a genuine conversation with people. There's nobody likes to buy anything. No one likes to be sold to. People want relationships, and that's how you're going to get business and connections in the long run.
Wow, that is so fascinating. I really love the 12 by 12 by 12 because um, human beings judge by appearance. Now, somebody might say, yeah, but why though? Why do I have to wear a suit and a tie? Why can't I just, especially our generation, why can't I just go there in a t-shirt? Well, the reason is people judge you within seconds by how you look, right? Somebody might say, yeah, but why? I'm never going to sign up for that seminar class. It's just the way it is, right? I mean, to think otherwise would be naive. So I really like the very first talk. I think that's super key. And the other things you mentioned, just the way people stand, I think that's pretty remarkable. I really love that. I mean, we can keep going, but we definitely dwelling into the quick rounds. These are going to be quick questions, quick answers. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. First question. What makes you, Jacob, unique? What is that differentiating factor that separates you from the next guy or the next girl?
Okay. 3 words. I care unconditionally.
Wow.
That's it.
Okay. That's short. That's short and sweet. I love it. Second question. What was the last book that you read? What was the one thing that you picked up from that book?
Okay, it's called Communicating in 90 Seconds or Less. It's by Nicholas Bolthune, I think. He is from England. One thing that I picked up from that book is that in United States alone, public speaking is the biggest fear, more than death. Now, many of us already know this, that we're scared of public speaking, but one tip that he gave when it came to public speaking, where I'm a public speaker myself, which when you feel nervous in the situation, all right, everybody tells you focus on breathing, right? It's so hard to focus on breathing when you're nervous and you're sweating and you're panicking. So he tells you different. Focus on opening and closing your nostrils. Just focus on your nose, and just focus on opening and closing your nostrils, and automatically start being more relaxed. And I actually tried it out a couple of days ago when I spoke, and it really works. So that was one great tip that I got from that book.
Yeah, I'm learning so many things today. I mean, as a public speaker myself, yeah, this is fascinating. I got a big nose though, so I don't know. People might start thinking, what's going on there? But I'll give it a shot. Last question, yeah. You've got obviously your book, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. You've got your businesses, you're raising capital, like I said, for syndicators like myself. You're doing a ton of stuff. What do you do for fun?
So there's a few things that I do for fun. The first thing obviously is my family. I love spending time with my family. That's the real goal at the end of the day, is just spending more time with family. The second thing which I love doing is writing, whether it's for myself, whether it's for myself to inspire others. Um, that's number two. And the third one is I like going to like cool different antique shops, and different like places, and just seeing if they have any things that I can't get anywhere else. That's a third thing that I like to do for fun.
Nice. So if there's a dual listener listening in and thinking, wow, I like this, Jacob guy, I want to connect with Jacob, or maybe I want to buy his book. So just tell us a little bit about the book, where people can get it from, and where people can get connected to you.
Sure. So the book, if you type in on Amazon, The Entrepreneurial Way, my book will come up. Or I'm sure if you even type in Amazon, Jacob Busani, that's Busani, you can find it over there. I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I'm Jacob Busani. So that's JACOB BUSANI. You can check out my website. That's jacobbusani.com. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at either info at jacobbusani.com, or and on my website there's like a little if you scroll to the bottom, there's like a contact me tab where you can just shoot and I'll get it, and then we can schedule a time to either have a quick chat or something more. You never know.
Yeah, Jacob, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today. I really appreciate you coming on the
Oh,
show.
oh, thank you, Ola. This has been an opportunity. I really appreciate it.